Today, I'm thrilled to welcome Michael Tso, CEO and co founder of Cloudian. Michael's career reads like a history of computing innovation. He worked on ubiquitous computing at Xerox PARC, pioneered mobile messaging infrastructure that served over 100 million users, and for nearly 14 years, he has been building Cloudian into a global leader in enterprise data management, and now he is tackling one of the biggest challenges in AI, making enterprises data actually accessible and usable for AI applications. Michael, thank you so much for joining us today. I have done so many fireside chats, and I think this is one of the most anticipated one personally for me because I am such a believer in what Cloudian is doing in AI space. Um, you hold 36 patents and have been at the forefront of technology innovation for over 25 years. From inventing core mobile data sync patents at Intel, then IntelliSense, and now you're leading Cloudian. What's the common thread that's driven you throughout that journey?
Hi, yeah, very happy to be here and speaking with you. So the common thread I would say is really just about inventing the future, innovation, and looking to solve problems that impact a lot of people.
Awesome. And you also co founded Gemini Mobile Technologies and successfully then pivoted into the Cloudian back in 2010, 2012, if I am getting it correct. And that's a bold transformation, I must say, from mobile messaging infra serving 100 million plus users to enterprise object storage. So, what did you see in the storage market that made you bet the company on that pivot?
Yeah, it's interesting. We actually didn't go out to start a storage company. We were interested in data, and we basically noticed this sort of mega trend that was going to go on for decades. That we saw that data creation was happening at an astonishing pace, and the whole world's data that's ever been created was basically that same amount was being created again every 2 years or so, which is just astonishing, right? And
Yeah.
we also noticed that what's driving behind this data creation is actually not humans; it's actually machines that's creating these data, and most of the data is created, at what you call like at the edge, right, by surveillance cameras, sensors, machines on the factory floor, cars. It's that's the stuff that's generating massive amounts of data. And at that time, we were in the mobile industry, so where bandwidth is very much limited, right? So we very quickly recognized that when you have data creation at that kind of scale and that's happening on the edge, um, the data that's generated everywhere cannot be easily moved or cannot be moved cheaply. So what we saw was a once in a generation opportunity to create a
Yeah.
solution, which was to build sort of extremely scalable, cost-effective, and cloud-compatible storage that can be deployed in any location on virtually any kind of hardware.
So, that makes sense. And you have been CEO of Cloudian for nearly 14 years now. What's been the most challenging inflection point in building Cloudian into a world leader in enterprise data management?
Yeah, good question. There's certainly, our journey has many memorable moments, um, but it's almost, kind of too easy to think of just one moment where a decision was made. I think that the most challenging um, sort of situation was there was a couple of occasions in our history where our partner vendor, like somebody else who was partnering with us in a solution, and in another case, somebody who was making um, part of our solution, had issues with their product, which impacted our customers at a massive scale, right? So, because something happens and suddenly hundreds of customers simultaneously all around the world are experiencing a big problem, and it's not a problem that can be fixed simply. It's a problem having to do with manufacturing processes and software and stuff like that. That takes literally months and months of just grinding hard work by everyone inside
Yeah.
Cloudian to mediate these issues while still having to carry on their day-to-day jobs. So I would say that overall, like solving unforeseen problems at a grand scale that takes months and months of hard work to help our customers. This is what makes building an enterprise data management company extremely difficult, but also it's extremely satisfying when you get onto the other side.
I get it. Now, circling back to the previous point which you were touching upon, because I think that is one point which is missed by many in the AI arena, which is around data. So, by 2028, enterprises are going to generate around 318 or 17 zettabyte of data each year. And that's not an exaggeration. And 90% of it is unstructured. 80% of enterprises' data still remains inaccessible to AI systems. Now, given your vast experience with mission critical infra at scale, like from NTT Docomo to Vodafone to now Global 2000 enterprises, which is growing, what's fundamentally broken in how enterprises have been approaching their data architecture, especially in this perspective of this whole bold new AI era?
Yeah, um, great question. So I can think of two things. Firstly, storage systems need to understand the data. Just storing data is no longer sufficient. This is where Cloudian's hyperscale AI data platform is coming in, right? Storage, we have now built storage that understands your data. Um, and so that you can now ask your storage about the content, about the inside knowledge of your data. So for example, you take our Hyperstore, which is our storage product, the manual is 10,000 pages, right? When you in the past you would just be storing it and then you will be retrieving it to read the manual. In our AI data platform, what happens is that you store this manual and immediately you can go to our built-in chatbot and ask questions like how do I add a new user? How do I create a new storage bucket? How do I apply security policies? And our storage system will now give you specific step-by-step instructions, not refer you to a page in the manual to go read. It understood it, and it's going to give you the step-by-step instructions. So that's really the first point. I think enterprise is sort of got it wrong right now, where storage is about storage and AI is about
Yeah.
AI. AI and storage are gonna merge, and your storage system's gotta understand your data. So that's number one. Number two, I think the whole idea of doing AI by moving data towards these GPU farms, it's wrong, right? If you talk to any company, and you talk to them about that their AI, they go, oh yeah, we have a few we have a few GPU servers here. Well, that's really the wrong approach because data has gravity, and AI is only as good as the amount of data that you're feeding it. And it's very hard to move large amounts of data. And by the time you move the data, that data is actually already out of date, right? So
Correct.
so for you to do your AI, you really enterprises have to move the GPU and compute to the data, have that built into the data or adjacent to the data, so that storing and understanding is going hand in hand. You don't have to move huge amounts of data around. So the convergence of GPU and compute with storage, that's the sort of essence of what Cloudian's new hyperscale AI data platform is.
And look, I must say here, and I really want to tell the viewers that this is not a sponsored podcast, by the way, not at all. And this is the primary reason I requested Michael to come onto the podcast when I learned about AI data platform. And it was not even released when I learned about it. And I was so intrigued around this project because I have been dealing with AI and models, open source tooling, frameworks for the last 3 years. I believe one of the blocker in terms of AI systems not delivering value to the enterprises because of data is stuck, and the AI systems try to do the RAG pipeline, but what they are doing, they are trying to move all that data to the GPUs, and the network becomes a blocker. The storage itself becomes a blocker, and that is why where this hyperscale AI data platform, in my opinion, represents a shift change, a total significant strategic shift. Now, you are delivering a complete full stack solution, as I understand, rather than just
Correct.
a storage in terms of AI
Correct.
DP or AI data platform. As
Correct.
CEO, as a leader of Cloudian, what convinced you this was the right move? You already have touched upon it, but I really want to get more into it. Maybe we'll get some insider scoop that what exactly was your train of thought around what was the right move versus staying focused purely on your core storage competency.
Yeah, I mean, that was actually the reason why we started this company. So all 14 years ago, when we saw this data creation, actually, as I mentioned in the beginning, we did not start out to create a storage company. We simply got into storage because we realized that data's got gravity and all interesting things will happen where the data is. So we better get into managing the data and keeping the data because that's what all the value is. We did not foresee AI coming, but we're so glad that it's here because that is the ultimate use case, right, for people who have a lot of data. So
Yes.
to us, we were able to realize, this solution relatively quickly, and create it, um, in part because we always built our system, anticipating in this way of combining, converging the compute with the data. So that was
Yeah.
sort of in our presentations internally, in our internal discussions, in our company training from day one. And it's been going on for all this time. So in a sense, we really kind of set up, to do this. So
Yeah.
yeah, so there's absolutely no doubt in my mind, this is the right way to go. So once the pieces start to fall together, that is really just a time that we just running just as hard as we can. Yeah.
Amazing. And um, I think that reminds me of that encounter of you with Jensen Huang of NVIDIA, where, I think many years back, even when there was no AI hype or fluff going on. And please tell us about that story when he reached out to you and then also sort of anticipated what you were going to do. And also, please touch
Yeah.
upon
So
how you, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
so it's very interesting, right? Because it was about, I think it was 2017, and I met Jensen at a party with other CEOs in the Silicon Valley, and at that time, I think NVIDIA was just starting to become very well known in sort of Bitcoin mining, and AI was just sort of one of the new use cases that they were talking about. And I looked up, Jensen at a party, and I said, "Hey, Jensen, one day you and I are going to be working together, um, because AI is going to need to consume enterprise data that is on-prem behind a firewall." And at that time, we actually provided by open source. We donated the very first S3 data ingester, for the NVIDIA platform. At that time was called Digits, Digits. So that was all the
Okay.
way back in 2017, before AI was a big deal, before NVIDIA was a big deal. And then what happened was, sometime in 2023, after many years of Cloudian implementing our storage product in different customers, we have by that time built not only the world's most compatible with the cloud and also the most scalable storage, but we also built the fastest, the highest performing object storage. So when we made that announcement, apparently Jensen saw the announcement, and then he asked his team to contact us. So this is fully what 6 7 years after that
Yeah.
initial encounter, and said, hey, now's the time to start working with Cloudian to bring Cloudian's storage product into the sort of NVIDIA ecosystem for AI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. And uh, I think this is such a fascinating story, I guess. And your own engineering background shows that you have always been hands on with the architecture. Now, with this around 8 times performance improvement with S3 RDMA, and also you have integrated vector database capabilities. So, I would really request you to please tell us more about these technical thing around RDMA and the vector database. I mean, I'm not going to name that database, but if you like to do it, please do it because that is such a, I think, breakthrough in hyperscale platform.
Yeah, so really, I think the key in our system have been we have um, build our system not to be tied to any particular hardware or any particular OS. So we are able to do everything we do at the sort of user level, which is actually a lot harder. But I would say that the performance is certainly one aspect of it, but the difficult part is how to achieve this performance without sacrificing other things like scalability, user management, reliability, availability, all that kind of things. And that's really coming back to the fact that we've been working on this platform for close to 14 years, right? Like 13,
Yeah.
14 years. And we have solved a lot of the hard computer science problems extremely well. One of the unique um, problems that we face in this kind of big scale system, um, it's that there's a theorem called a cap theorem,
Yeah.
and it was invented by my friend actually, Professor Eric Brewer. And so we went to school together, and we actually started a company together. And cap theorem basically says that there's three different sort of characteristics that you want your large scale distributed system to have. You want consistency, availability, and partition tolerance. And the theorem says that out of these three, you can only ever achieve two. And the other one you kind of have to make do. So you have to choose which two are you going to solve really well and completely, and then you do the best to fix the third one. And I've built several systems in the past and totally understand the limitations and trade-offs that you're facing with the CAP theorem. And with Cloudian, with our storage platform, I believe we did an extremely good job navigating this CAP theorem sort of trade-off, which is one of the fundamental computer science kind of issues. And we were able to make some key trade-off capabilities like um, consistency and data distribution and data protection to be user configurable. And what this means is that our system through configuration can be easily changed to handle different types of workloads efficiently in different ways. So essentially on the same system, you can have something that's good at C and A but not so good at P, or you can turn around and have one part of the system be really good at A and P but not so good at C. And that just depends on how your workload is going to be required. So what that means is that the user can have a system the same system can handle multiple different kinds of workloads extremely efficiently, and that makes it easier to manage because you have a single system that are running all kinds of different things, as opposed to the traditional way of doing this is that you have to set up separate systems or use separate products to handle these different kind of behavior that's desired by different kind of workloads. So that is sort of a really fundamental computer science thing that I feel like we've done extremely well in our system. And there's some other things, like for example, the multi-tenancy is one of the things that we do extremely well, and it's very hard to do because it requires you to simultaneously be counting the amount of traffic from all the users across a very big system that's spread across potentially multiple data centers. And in real time, we need to be counting what everybody's using so that we make sure that no user is getting too much of the system resources, causing other people to slow down, right? So that kind of thing, again, it's very, very hard to build from a fundamental computer science
Yeah.
standpoint. But once you have it, it makes the system so easy to manage, right? So
So this is great.
yeah,
So you are building upon the previous foundation which you have laid down during those last 14 years. Now, um, one thing which I have noticed again in the last 3 years, and I have interviewed many startup founders, and unfortunately around 50 to 60% of them are no longer there, just because what they built was again embedded by either OpenAI, Anthropic, or any other company, big hyperscalers, and they are nowhere to be seen. But you have competed against hyperscaler before. For example, at Inktomi, you were tackling problems at internet scale, and now, with the Cloudian, when everyone was talking about cloud, you were, pitching and very successfully, implementing Cloudian's own on-prem AI solutions, not AI solutions, other storage solutions. And now in this AI era, as we can all see that Google, Azure, AWS, and various other companies are really pitching their products. They have infinite resources. How do you how are you positioning yourself?
yeah, I think that the key to picking what problem you want to solve is not necessarily pick up the low hanging fruit, right? It's really to pick up a problem that is very, very hard and um, a problem that gets harder with scale, right?
Yeah.
So that, as you heard, I was previously talking about. These are what we're trying to solve, a very, very fundamental computer science problems that is not easy to solve for really anyone. But one thing I want to just really point out is that we don't compete with the hyperscalers. In fact, we very much complement them, right? Because hyperscalers is all about creating data centers that are centralized, right? They centralize data, they pool their resources, they can build things at massive scale. Now, what we do is we bring all the benefits of the cloud, like it's elastic, that it's very cost effective, it's easy to manage, easy to scale, etc. We bring all those things, but um, we are deployed away from the cloud. We're deployed where your data has to be, behind a firewall. We're deployed. Your data has to be in the factory, has to be on the edge somewhere, has to be on a ship. And we're giving you that same kind of cloud-like capabilities,
Yeah.
but where you have your data. So we are partners with all three and other major hyperscalers, because fundamentally, from a computer science standpoint, we're solving a different problem. We're solving
Mhm.
a sparse kind of distributed systems problem in a weakly connected to no connection world, whereas they start from a view of like all their data centers are hyper well connected, super networking between them. Everything is very fast there, and then they can build things at sort of grand scale that way. So it's really very different. Now, the reason why um, our problem is very relevant is that at least half the world's data, probably more, is behind enterprise firewalls, right?
Yeah.
And more of it will grow because data creation is actually happening at the edge. And also because of data gravity, it's harder and harder to move data into centralized places. And we are the most cloud compatible storage. So we guarantee that your workloads can run in the cloud and also run it on the same type of storage like that Cloudian has, but it's on-prem or on the edge. So the same application that you run in the cloud can run with our Cloudian storage. And that's fundamentally the value proposition that we bring. And that's fundamentally why we're complementary, right, to all the hyperscalers.
Sounds great. And even the name's Cloudian. So now, the Cloudian's presence and the footprint is, I guess, across the globe. One of the major challenges which I see at the moment whenever I'm talking with clients or even many of the subscribers, a model which they have implemented, let's say in US, they cannot implement same way in Europe because of GDPR, a lot of other compliance regulations. Australia, where I'm based, it is totally different. You have to cater to a lot of regulations. There is a lot of chaos there. How do you see data sovereignty concerns, and how are you planning to address them, especially in the perspective of this AI data platform?
Yeah, data sovereignty is the major concern of our age. Think of it this way, right? AI is probably the most incredible and the most impactful technological invention of our time. And data is what makes AI work, right? Without data, AI basically is not of any use. So, just like any kind of new in the technology, it's incredibly important for every country to be able to have some control over access and over control and usage, right? Um, from a standpoint of just AI as sort of critical infrastructure and critical technology, that sovereignty is without question the highest priority for any and all countries, right?
Yeah.
Now, then at the heart of that, like there's two pieces. There's the AI technology, right? There's GPU farms and AI software, all this stuff, and then there is the data, and you need both, right? You cannot have only one of the two. You need both. So I would say like from what I can see right now is that Europe is being just a leading force in terms of data sovereignty, as well as countries in Asia like Korea, Vietnam, India, etc., in Australia. I think everybody recognizes that data and AI technology, guaranteeing access and sovereignty and control are top, national security, priorities. Now, where Cloudian comes in is that, and how we're different from the sort of hyperscalers is that we provide a piece of software, not a service. So when the hyperscaler is providing a service, the U.S. Law is such that anytime your data is in a U.S. company's service anywhere, the U.S. government has a right to inspect that data. Now, what Cloudian does is to solve that problem by providing a piece of software that fully can be under your control, that you run in your data center. We don't have any access to that software while it's running. We don't have access to any of the data that it's managing. And you can put it all behind a firewall and not be connected to anything in the world. And you can have complete control of that.
Yeah.
And in fact, for us in the US, the US government, the United States military, other secret um, agencies are actually have been using Cloudian to solve that exact problem, right? Because you even within the US, you have entities that require complete isolation and complete data sovereignty
Yeah.
within that particular organization's domain, right? And they solve that problem by deploying some Cloudian storage solutions.
Got it. And now, if you look out 3 to 5 years or even maybe less, what does success looks like for Cloudian in this new AI era? And what market position are you building toward?
Well, we it's quite simple. We will be the leading provider of enterprise AI data platforms, storage that can understand your data. So that's it.
Okay. And
Yeah.
there are a lot of viewers who are of my channel which are enterprise IT leaders, and they are trying to navigate their AI strategy. What's the one piece of advice you would give them based on everything you have learned building infra over 25 years?
Yeah, I think the one thing that they really have to pay attention to right now is what I would call, shadow AI. Um, shadow AI is where employees cut and paste company data into free AI models, and they use that to help them do their work, right? They
Yeah,
they, they have an email to be drafted or a report or whatever. And the problem with that kind of approach is that that data, the licensing agreements for all these user level AI systems is that your data, anything that you submit, can and will be used to improve the models, which means that they will become the next training set of data. So
mm,
that is the single biggest threat to enterprise data leaving the company is people cutting and pasting
yeah,
out of their enterprise documents and throw it into some free AI system. So
true.
it's incredibly important that enterprise IT leaders implement private AI solutions that work with data in their enterprise and have explicit policies to not allow employees to unknowingly um, make their company data become part of the next
Training
open
set. Yeah,
internet kind of training set. Yeah.
correct. What is your favorite large language model?
I try to be very neutral here, but
I know.
and honestly, they're different for different things. But I use Grok for a lot of things, so
Oh
I would
wow.
say that Grok is my favorite.
Elon must be very happy. Okay, maybe he'll watch this. Yeah.
Yeah.
You have built businesses across the globe. What's your favorite food discovery from your travels, and what's your favorite city in the world?
That's a great question. Look, I love food and wine, so maybe one day I'm gonna become a food blogger.
Yeah.
It's very hard for me to pin down a one kind of favorite food discovery, but I would say that out of all cities of the world, probably Tokyo stands out as the most incredible because they really have just a huge love for food, and there's just a variety of different food cultures from all around the world. And that's combined with this like tremendous dedication of the Japanese people to try to be perfect at what they do, right? So they have
Yeah.
this mentality that they little by little they improve small things and small things and small things. Eventually, they kind of make it perfect. So, for example, ramen noodles was invented in actually China, but the Japanese made it perfect so much so that they're selling ramen to the whole world, including China, right? So for me, Tokyo is the favorite city for food because they have perfected just about every kind of cuisine. But I also love Italy, Spain, Portugal. They're all amazing in terms of food and wine. So
Amazing. And outside of technology and Cloudian, what do you enjoy doing in your free time? Any hobbies or interests?
I love skiing. I love following the cricket. Right now it's happening in Australia. Also follow Hawthorn for Australian rules football. I love cooking. I love to travel. Yeah.
Okay, so I think those who don't know, you have studied in Melbourne, right?
Yeah, so I actually grew up in Melbourne in my high school years, so very much, you know, very much into the whole sort of Australian culture. And then I applied to one school in America, just to see how it was, and they ended up accepting me. So then I went to America to study, and I've been here for over 30 years now. So.
Cool. And finally, what keeps you excited about coming to work after all these years, especially 14 years as a CEO?
What's really interesting is that the pace of change is constantly accelerating. It's getting faster and faster. And what's really exciting for me, what keeps me up every day, like, coming to work every day, is the community of smart people that I'm so fortunate to be involved with, that we're working together, inventing, the future together. That's really the most amazing thing, right? And from friends of the past, like in Eric Brewer, I did my thesis with Dr. David Clark, who invented most of TCP/IP we know today. My co-founder was Hiroshi Ota, who created the world's first photo mail service and the world's first camera phone. Jensen and his whole team on AI and inferencing and so on in RDMA and so on. It's an amazing journey working with great people, inventing the future together. So yeah.
And if someone wants to learn more about AI data platform or Cloudian, where should they go?
I'll just go to our website, www.cloudian.com.
Well, Michael, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, a real treat. I'm sure my viewers would love it. Thank you so much.
Likewise, really great to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.